The public appetite for contemporary design in the last 15 or 20 years in Britain and no doubt elsewhere has increased tremendously so.
Over the 20 years that I've been at Design Week, I've seen the design industry actually become an industry.
If you look back to the 1980s, an interest in contemporary design was pretty much limited to a few people who were architects and a few sympathisers with Italian movements of design. But you could barely buy it, you could barely read about it.
You can map the public interest in design through the amount of publications there are about it. I mean, in the time that 100% Design has been in existence, probably a quadrupling or quintupling of the amount of space devoted to design in the magazines.
People have a bit of a fascination about it, about creativity in general, but specifically in terms of the way in which it relates to and informs the things that they live with and surround them.
British design has got some very specific characteristics which divide it out, but when you have to pinpoint them, it becomes more difficult.
The British design scene is vibrant, young, interesting.
It's slightly more chaotic and slightly less organised in a way, but then at the same time produces some really interesting work.
People think of British design and they think of Formula One or Rolls-Royce engines, like very high-end engineered objects which are extremely complex.
The public's always been interested in design of things like cars, and they just didn't know what it was called. They thought they were looking at a great car, but what they're looking at now is great design in a car.
It's a very broad spectrum of design that you have here. And I can't think of anywhere else in the world that's like that.
There is a huge amount of artisanal and industrial skill in Britain that maybe wasn't anything to do with the design industry in the past, but is now being brought in, and these sorts of skills are being used.
I think it's very difficult to be innovative in a town as expensive as London.
Some people come here and are surprised by the kind of hard work that they have to put in to not just be successful, but to survive in this city.
A lot of people still find the space within London to be entrepreneurial and to design their own briefs and go on their own quests of what design means to them.
For me, British design is like Sam Hecht, Jasper Morrison, Jonathan Ive. That to me is very male, very pared down, and almost disparaging of narrative and storytelling.
We might claim Jonathan Ive as a British designer, but that's utterly international design. I mean, because it's not conceived from a British point of view, it's not conceived for a British market, it's not even a British company that's making Ive design. An awful lot of design that we look at now it's cut free from national viewpoints.
I think that Britain is very strong in design, has a good reputation, and is not in danger of losing a good reputation. But I think it would be wrong to undervalue the talents in emerging nations.
London's an exciting place for design because it's much more focused around ideas than I think other countries and other cities around the world. We're also, I think, through reputation, a kind of magnet for talent to come and live and work here.
I think when I first came to the UK, I really felt that I'd come into a culture and a context where everything seemed resolved and designed. And I didn't know what I could contribute to a culture where everything seemed so developed. And I think that's where I really started to see what I could bring from India, for example.
A lot of the most expressive designers working in the UK come from different countries, and yet being here, being in London, releases those qualities of playfulness and exploratoriness.
I think that there are some serious manufacturers who are beginning to emerge in Britain with global ambition and global kind of status.
Other countries perceive British design with individuality, eclecticism.
The rest of the world isn't one homogeneous mass that looks at British design as one thing. Different nations have different perceptions of what goes on. I think people believe that it's a great place to do design.
They really do see British design synonymous with quality.
In London there's a huge resource of creativeness in that sense, not just design based as far as furniture and products are concerned. And I see that everywhere, even from the street art down to just walking around on a Saturday. So I think the design scene in the UK seems very healthy to me.
So perhaps Britain is getting its act together about being a design nation And more than just being branded as one and exporting as designers, we're getting more and more product being made here as well.